am so excited to start this week. It is production week, which technically means that I'm supposed to paint 8 paintings in 1 week, and it should be a distilled version of my style, and I should finish them all in this short time span. I already know that I will not be able to finish them in a week because I guess time is part of my process, but I'm giving myself 2 weeks and challenging myself to do it. So yeah, it will definitely be difficult, but I'm really excited to give it a try. I ordered all of these canvases because they all should be the same size, same process, same everything. And I picked a theme too, which I'm really excited about. I debated on so many different themes. I thought maybe I would do florals or landscapes or possibly hands or portraits, but I settled on animals, and specifically I'm going to do a series of forest animals, so I'm really excited about that. Yeah, I guess we just get started. I actually haven't gotten that many questions about the prices of art supplies, but I figured I'd include it here since I had to order so many canvases at once. I bought 12 canvases from Michaels. It was a 12 pack of the Gallery Wrapped Level 3 canvases, and they are 11 by 14 inches, and this whole box was $95. So I think that actually is a really great price for so many canvases. I used 8 for this video, and then I have another 4, which was really helpful. In order to prep the canvases, I used some modeling paste to smooth out the texture. This is actually something I do for most of my paintings. I just love working on a smooth surface. It really doesn't take me very long in general, but it was really fun to prep all of these canvases at the same time. It was so much faster, and I guess production week is definitely teaching me better ways to make sure I can produce a lot of work. It usually takes me such a long time just to produce one painting, so yeah, this has been a real learning experience. I don't usually start my paintings with a sketch. Usually I just use paint to define the subject, to rub out some of the lighter areas and add some darks in right away, but I figured a quick 5 to 10 minute sketch on all of these might help me to establish where the shapes are supposed to be and maybe work a little bit faster than I usually do. So that was my plan. I did make a mistake. I didn't actually spray any fixative on it, so once I started putting paint on my canvases, it kind of faded away, which wasn't really that big of a deal. Like I said, I don't usually add a sketch on there anyways, but just in case you were going to try this technique out for yourself, don't forget the fixative so you can still see your drawing underneath. Something else I wish I had done differently was in the process of selecting the sources. I usually have a source for a painting for several weeks. I'll put a lot of thought into it beforehand before I ever even start painting, and with these everything had to be so much quicker, so I selected the sources and I got started, and I actually had to paint over 2 of them later on in the process when I realized that the source or the composition wasn't really going to work, and that's okay. It was a learning experience and it wasn't that bad to start over and try something new, but I feel like I could have saved myself the trouble if only I had really put in the energy beforehand like I usually do. So I'll make sure to implement all of these little things when I do this again. Once I had all of the sketches on the canvases, I started preparing and setting up for the underpainting. I used some Gelkid Light and also some solvent mixed with linseed oil, and then I used the earth pigments, I think that's what they're called, by Gamblin, which are just beautiful colors. I also used some pastel colors. I wanted to avoid using too much white, but at the same time I wanted to make sure that I could put the lights into my underpainting because I wouldn't have as many layers as I usually use. And I think that actually worked out really well. I can still see some of my underpainting in the almost finished paintings that they are now, and I really like that. This is actually the exact moment I realized that I hadn't put any fixative on my drawing and my drawing was slowly disappearing right in front of my eyes, and I had to speed up this moment because it was quite a long pause. It's just funny because normally you wouldn't get to relive these moments, but because I had a camera on me, I know exactly how I felt in that moment, which is just really funny to look back. Luckily, it really wasn't a big deal. My drawing wasn't detailed to begin with anyways, and I just started my painting like I usually did, with blocking out the important shapes, taking out the light, adding back in the darks, and yeah, everything was fine in the end. As much as I loved production week and I learned so much, there were some negative side effects, I guess you could say, that I didn't really anticipate. And I think the biggest one for me was that I was trying to work so fast. I was working on all of these at the same time. I only allowed myself to work on them for a specific amount of time, and I think that made it easier to make mistakes, to not really see when the composition is off or when I'm not placing things in the right spots. I also normally would sit and stare at my paintings for quite a while. I guess it's part of my process to just sit there and look how I might resolve an issue. Whereas right now, if there was something that I struggled with, I would just put the painting away and grab the next one and start working on it. And sometimes I got halfway through painting and realized that the eyes were in the wrong spot. That actually happened twice, and that was a little bit frustrating. But at the same time, I feel like that was an important lesson for me to learn too. I need to make sure that I pay extra close attention to composition and proportions and all of those things that I normally pay lots of attention to, but I now just didn't make the time, and that will be important for future production weeks. One of the most fun parts of this process, though, were experimenting a little bit with line work, with different textures, different types of brush strokes, a little bit of color as well, and how I might approach a certain area of a painting. I have a tendency to kind of stick with what I know, and I don't experiment all that much, and I allowed myself to try a few different things for all of these paintings, and that was really fun. Some of them worked out great, some of them not so much, and that's definitely something I'll take away from production week. It's a really great way to evolve your skills, to try a few new things, to see if things work or don't, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I also took this time to really reflect on my process and the way I love to paint, and even the things that I may want to change about my process. Once all of the underpaintings were done and dry, I started on the first layer of oil paint. I made sure to actually pick a color palette so that all of the pieces would look cohesive. This also just made things a little bit easier for me, so I didn't have to go and find all of the different colors for every single different painting, and I could allow my palette to just stay the same, whereas normally when I switch paintings, I actually switch palettes. I use a lot of the same colors for my paintings. I've definitely developed a little bit of a color palette, but at the same time, I definitely pick different colors for different paintings depending on what I see in the source or what I would like to emphasize in that finished piece. For these though, I stuck with the same colors, and that really helped me along the way. Something I realized while painting all of these different paintings was that emphasizing a specific area of a painting can really elevate the piece. For instance, I made sure to make the eyes of all of these animals really detailed, and I think that really helped the overall look of the painting a whole lot. It actually allowed me to not put intense detail all over the painting and leave certain areas a little bit more abstract, and it really gave me a little bit of breathing room because I had no idea how I would ever finish 8 paintings in such a short time frame if I was going to have the level of detail that I usually have in all of my paintings. And this is definitely something I will make sure to remember for any future pieces. There is a big difference in all of these paintings though. I felt like some of them came to me really easily while others took a lot more time and effort to make them look a little bit better. And that's all right. I'm definitely learning how to work through different problems on a painting. Sometimes the things that I tried to experiment with just didn't really work out, and that's all right too. It is definitely an interesting observation though, how some of these could probably be done with about 3 to 4 hours of work, while others would probably need 10 to look good. And I'm not entirely sure that I've identified what the difference is between all of these, like what worked and what didn't, but it's been a really interesting experiment to see what happens and to see how things work out. For instance, this bunny is probably my favorite painting out of the whole series, and I almost don't want to touch it. It only has the underpainting and then this first layer that you see me painting right here on it so far, and it definitely needs one more layer, but a lot of these areas I'll probably leave as they are, which is really interesting. A lot of the underpainting is still showing, and then the face I think just looks really great at the end of this first layer, so I'll probably leave it the way it is. Whereas normally I would add layer upon layer upon layer to make things look good. So yeah, I just haven't been able to identify what the difference is, and I'm really intrigued. I'm actually already so excited to do another production week. I definitely think this is something that I want to implement more often, maybe once every 3 months or so. I have all of these ideas floating around in my head of little series that I want to try with all sorts of different subject matter. And if you have any suggestions of these small scale series that you would love to see me do, just let me know if there's any specific type of subject matter that you would like to see. I can't wait to do it again. This fox has actually been a little bit of a struggle right from the beginning. I think in part it is because it has a slightly different color palette than the rest of the animals, and that's fine. I had fun trying to figure that out. The other issue that I ran into is that I didn't get the proportions right, so you will see me actually repainting the eyes after I got quite far into that first layer. I used a little bit of solvent to wipe them away and repaint them. It really wasn't that big of a deal, aside from the fact that I just hadn't noticed it before, and I do think that that comes with the speed that was required to paint 8 paintings at the same time. It's definitely something I'll be more wary of in the future. I did also learn a lot though from painting so much faster, and there's definitely a lot of big takeaways that I'll implement in my future paintings. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching all of the different stages of the process that I went through. I actually really enjoyed editing this video and reflecting back on what I did and how I painted it and what process I used. Throughout this video, I've tried to point out some of the things that I didn't do well, or that I could have done better, or that I could have done differently. So I hope that that is helpful. I know I don't usually do that. I just wanted to share all of the lessons that I had learned throughout this whole process. Obviously, these paintings are not done yet, so next week I'll hopefully be able to reflect on the finished pieces and maybe what I would have done differently in the end. But overall, I am really loving production week. It's been such a valuable experience, and if you're considering doing this, I could only recommend it. Painting so many pieces at the same time has been such a learning experience, and I've enjoyed it so much more than I thought. Actually, I thought I would be really stressed out and unable to finish any of the pieces in time, which technically I wasn't able to finish any of them in time, but I got so much further along in the process than I thought I would, and realistically, being able to finish them within a week now should be totally doable, so that will be really exciting. Next week's video will probably be about the finishing touches, like what you do afterwards, and yeah, I'm just really excited to get these up. I think these will actually be the first couple of paintings that I will put in my shop on my website, which is really exciting. So if you have been wanting to buy some of my work, that will be possible really soon. Something that's been so fun about this whole process has been trying to figure out all of the different textures that I could make, how to apply contrast, especially within backgrounds, to help enhance the subject in the painting. I also found different ways to create shape. I found different ways to paint a little bit faster. So I just learned a ton and I can't wait to do it again. But I think that was all for this week. I'm really looking forward to next week and sharing the finished results. I just want to say a big thank you for being here. I know that the videos haven't been coming out every week right now because I've been really busy with work projects as well. So yeah, regardless, I just want to say I appreciate you for supporting me in this way, and I will hopefully see you next week. Bye.